We have a Cappy hat, just in case Mario Odyssey 2 gets announced. It's not going to happen. We have a Splatoon hat, just in case. I doubt we're going to need either of them, let's be real. Oh my god. No freaking way! They just... No way they did Splatoon 3. No way! So I guess I'm a Splatoon YouTuber again. Hey everybody, I'm Jammer, and to literally everyone's surprise, they announced Splatoon 3 at yesterday's Nintendo Direct, and you know we're going to be bringing back the Splatoon content here on the channel. So of course, with the hype surrounding the game, we need to take a deep dive. We need to take a look at all the secrets and hidden details here in the trailer. While it is just a couple of minutes of very short footage, not showing off too much, there's still a lot to go over and a lot of cool details that I discovered as going through the trailer. But before we get started, if you are new here, perhaps consider subscribing. We're going to be doing a ton of Splatoon 3 content once the game comes out next year, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about it more and more as new screenshots, trailers, and other information comes out throughout the rest of this year. So definitely look forward to tons of more new Splatoon content. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to all that. Without further ado, let's break down this Splatoon 3 trailer. I want to start off by saying one thing right up off the top here, that this footage looks very early. I know people are so hyped and excited for Splatoon 3, hoping it's gonna come out like the instant it turns 2022. I think it just would be smart for everyone to set their expectations more realistically. Looking at the footage right here, you can tell it looks like very early footage. There's a lot of aliasing going on in the footage. The shadows in certain spots look kind of wonky. It really does look like a rough pass. Beyond that, the environments and stuff, if you look at like the details that would be near like some of these walls, the rusted turnover cars and such, it's really just cars, desert, and blue sky. There isn't the typical clutteredness or the higher, finer details that you would typically see. What I mean by all this is that this game is nowhere near art final. There's a lot they still need to do to get it to a complete state, so I cannot stress this enough that this game is still pretty early on in development. So likely this game will not release for well into 2022. So I just want to say that across the board, that while we are all allowed to be super excited for this game, I really do think it's still quite a ways off. Anyways, the trailer throws us right in to the character creation stuff, which kind of leads me to believe this whole section we're about to go through, and you'll see throughout the footage here, it very well could be the introduction tutorial area, just like previous Splatoon games, where you create and personalize your Inkling, then you play a quick little section of tutorial to then where you enter the main hub of the game. But we're getting a little too ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the character creation. The first thing you choose is select the style, and right off the bat, both Inklings and Octolings are both available. While there's still a choice here between two styles, between Inkling and Octoling, they're not expressively quote-unquote Inkling a boy or a girl, and as you'll later see with the hairstyles, all hairstyle versions are available for both different types of Inkling or Octoling, which is great to have that customization and freedom. It's similar to like Animal Crossing in that way. In the trailer here, we see 7 hairstyles. In Splatoon 2, there was 8, but it's likely to assume there's at least 8, since there's, sets of 2 with both what would be Inkling boy and girl through this dialogue option. But it's very likely all this menu stuff and UI stuff is very early on, because it could be one of two things. There could be a lot more just off screen, or they just don't have enough hairstyles ready yet to show off, so I'm sure there'll be plenty more once the game fully comes out. There's the option for skin tone, which has a couple of new shades, just to give a more diverse palette to choose from for your Inkling. Great to see. A new cool thing is the eye color choices. In Splatoon 2, there were 7 options, and here there is a giant catalog of a ton of different color choices. The 2 tones of each of the color options represent the pupil versus the iris, so most of them having a black pupil, and then the iris being different colors. The 3 tones have something a little bit unique about them, where the third color, the rightmost color, is a color that will outline the iris of the eye. So as you can see here with this color, you can see the pupil color, the iris color, and then a little outline around of a third color. The next option is pants, where there was 10 options in Splatoon 2, only 9 here. Basically all of them came back, and again, they could totally add more once the full game comes out. One thing that they don't show off here in the character customization that later in the trailer you'll see evidence of is eyebrow customization. This Inkling here at the beginning, of course, we see the slit in the eyebrow, but later they see a couple of different variants, like the really thick eyebrows of this Inkling, the really thin, more angled eyebrows here on this Octoling, so it looks like that might be another customization option we'll be able to choose to have different eyebrow customization. Kinda cool. After creating your Inkling or Octoling, the next customization you have is for this little cutie. Oh my gosh, I would die for this little buddy. As confirmed by Nintendo's Twitter account, this character is called Small Fry, or otherwise known as Little Buddy. There's a bunch of little hairstyle options, so you can customize that there. But beyond this character just being absolutely adorable, I think this means a lot more than we may realize for Splatoon 3's story. Because the Salmonoid were always posed as kind of like savage beasts in the Splatoon universe. Octolings kind of got similar treatment in Splatoon 1, but that was kind of remedied with 2, especially with the Octo expansion and Marina being an Octoling and everything. So perhaps they're going to be taking a similar angle here with this game's story. I doubt we're going to get like a playable salmon for any reason for that matter. But what's more likely is I could see the story going something like this, where like this is the baby child salmon of maybe like the Salmon King or something, and Small Fry is going to be your companion throughout the entire story. Maybe you have to reunite Small Fry with like the other Salmonids, but like they attack you because they think you stole him or something. The point I'm trying to say is that the Salmonoid are going to play a pretty big role here in Splatoon 3's story. Now that the character customization over, you see the player character walking through an absolute desert of a wasteland, which has been dubbed the Splatlands. It's giving off some major Mad Max vibes with all like the rusted cars and everything turned over. You see the Eiffel Tower here completely upside down, but actually here in universe, this is actually the Splat Tower from Splatoon 1. This was the multiplayer hub of that game, and it seems that the hub for Splatoon 1 has been completely destroyed, so this is on you, Team Chaos. You guys asked for this, by the way. We finally arrive here at a bus stop, and we see the Inkling waiting for a trolley to come down the tracks. In the background, you see a big city off in distance. And with later evidence, you'll see that is the new hub here in Splatoon 3. The trolley's coming at you from a distance, but the trolley's going a wrong way from the city, right? Well, that's because more than likely, your stop is the end of the line. So off camera anyways, there's probably an end to the railroad where the trolley will be then turning around and going the opposite direction. And then when we see here in the scene on the trolley, blurry but out the window, you'll see the trolley getting closer to the big white city we saw in the distance. Also, since we're on this screen, you have to mention this weird looking fish dude. Like, only Splatoon would have just like the most awkward scene possible with this weird looking fish dude. I don't know what his deal is. Maybe he has a pivotal role here in the Splatoon 3 story, or he's just some weirdo. Who's to say? But anyways, without further ado, welcome to Splatsville, otherwise known as the City of Chaos, the new hub here in Splatoon 3. What we know so far is that it's very far away from Splatoon 2's hub, and that this city was actually built up soon after the final Chaos vs. Order Splatfest. So basically what happened as far as the Splatoon canon is Team Chaos supporters basically just left Inkopolis to just build a society of their own out in the desert. Just wanted like, you know what, I reject society, we're just gonna make our own city. There's a lot going on here in Splatsville. There's so many different buildings and clutter everywhere, but I'll try to break down some of the key details that I notice. In one scene, they show off this big building with a giant snake with the crown on the top, which looks hilarious, by the way. But this building, from what I can tell, looks like it'll be the new weapon building. The reason I know that is if you look into the windows, of course, you'll see a bunch of racked weapons up on the walls and shelves, but even more evidence of that on the window itself to the right of the door is a logo for Sheldon, you know, the iconic weapon dealer here in the Splatoon series. So it's likely that this is going to be the weapon shop. To the left of that weapon shop is this big staircase up to that big white tower we saw off from a distance. We get a better shot here with all like the colors swirling around and stuff, and then you see the iconic logo of what has always been the multiplayer hub, the Splat Tower with the 2 crossing arrows. This is going to be, of course, your multiplayer hub here in Splatoon 3. Even left of that is this golden royal like archway kind of thing. I don't know what it is, but it just like seems important. It feels like it's something bigger than a shop or anything of that form, right? But perhaps it's maybe like the location of where the Squid Sisters, quote unquote, of this game, like the new hosts of this area, where they go present on stage or something like that. We don't get a very good look at it, so it's hard to tell what it is necessarily, but it does feel like it has a big enough presence that it should theoretically be something important. There's a scene where they show this little downstairs area. From kind of the vibes I got for it, maybe like Spike could be down there, the sea urchin that would like trade you the sea urchins you get from Splatfest to get little goodies and whatnot. The reason I kind of think that is because this character is typically more like hidden away or like in a back alley, kind of doing their own thing, you know? So that's just kind of the vibe I got from it, but it could be honestly anything. In addition to tons of different like neon signs and poster boards and whatnot, you can actually also see a salmon neon sign, which could potentially indicate that Salmon Run, the mode from Splatoon 2, could return here in some form. So that's great to see, of course, too. But obviously there's no concrete confirmation because it is really hard to see what's going on in these shots. Also, there's this like random jellyfish with like a giant head. I don't know what really is going on there or what importance it has here in the trailer, but I needed to show off this long head dude. Like, what? He's so what's wrong with his head? Now it's time to leave Splatsville behind. The trailer slaps up the big Splatoon 3 logo, and we get thrown into our first look at multiplayer here in Splatoon 3. The first thing to notice is the brand new spawning mechanic when it comes to playing multiplayer here. Rather than it being a spawning platform where the entire team spawns on, there's a bunch of individual mid-air drones that each player flies above the stage with. If you'll notice, actually, the drones themselves are like makeshift looking espresso machines, which is like so on brand for Splatoon, with just like the most random junk being utilized as a totally weird thing here in the game. What's really interesting about this new spawn is rather than being a single location on the ground, you're of course up in the air, you can actually aim where you're going to launch from the drone and where you'll spawn in the map. You can aim your spawn independently of your teammates, as you can see like a bunch of different icons here on the screen, all picking and aiming where they're going to launch their character. And I think this new spawn mechanic is actually going to change a lot more to the game than we may actually realize. For one thing, now that your spawn is up in the air and you can kind of land wherever you want, this obviously prevents spawn camping. No longer can the enemy team just like keep you at bay in the base because you're literally stuck spawning in the exact same location. Now with the luxury of being able to pick where you want to launch, there's no single location where you can get spawn camped. I'm sure there's going to be a limit. You can't just drop wherever you want. Whatever is within your field of vision, or maybe there's like an invisible line where you can't like go further than the midpoint in the map or something like that. But here's what's really interesting about this new spawn, because there's a risk reward to it. You could choose to spawn really close to the middle of the map, or as close as you possibly can get, at risk of getting splatted right when you spawn in, but with the reward of covering a lot more ground and getting back instantly into the action. On the other hand, you can spawn a lot closer to your side of the stage, in which it's going to be a little bit safer, but also to the advantage of you can start inking your own turf a little bit more because you'll be further back from the midpoint. So I think this is going to really change up the dynamic of how the game is played, where being able to have all 8 players in the match independently spawn in different locations, so then you can have like your teammate call out for you, like, hey, I need help in this area, rather than just like spawning and then squid jumping. You can try to aim your spawn closer, so then you wouldn't have to squid jump at all, so you can react and get there quicker to help your buddy. In addition to the new spawn, there's 2 new abilities that they show off here in the trailer. The first one is called Squid Roll. While swimming under ink on the ground, you can leap and twirl out of the ink. Essentially, what it does is you can stop all forward momentum and go in an entirely other direction quickly. This is really beneficial because, as you'll know, when you're in squid form, you have a lot of maneuverability when you're with your forward momentum, but if you're trying to stop on a dime and turn direction, you kind of just stay in place. This is really cool because movement is your strongest suit when in squid form, so giving you another ability here is really great. And as you can see here in this scene where this player dodges out of the way of getting shot. The second new ability is called Squid Surge. While swimming up a wall, you can get a higher vertical leap when you reach the top. As shown here in this scene, player with the blaster jumps well over and on top of the player camping at the top of the tower. This can add a lot more vertical advantage and just vertical gameplay in general from you coming from above on top of the players. And that idea of vertical gameplay can kind of be built off of here when we talk about the new weapons that have been shown off. So far, we've only seen one brand new weapon, being the Ink Bow. I mean, I don't know if that's actually the name of it, but that's just what we're going to go for. As you can see, it shoots a tri-shot of ink in a vertical orientation of 1, 2, 3 arrows, shooting straight forward. This weapon already looks like a great way to combat these new squid abilities, like for example the Squid Surge coming up above onto the tower. You can use this new vertical shooting weapon to combat people from coming above on top of you. In addition to the new Ink Bow, like we've seen plenty throughout this trailer, a bunch of returning weapons have come with a new coat of paint. We see like the Scoped Charger, the Dynamo Roller, the Blaster and Range Blaster, the Sloshing Machine, the Splatter Shot, Splatling, 96 Gal, a lot of iconic Splatoon weapons returning here. I guess the only like specific weapon types we haven't seen so far would be brushes, umbrellas, dualies. I could be forgetting some other ones, but I'm positive that all weapons will probably come back in this game, just like they did in Splatoon 2, bringing back everything from Splatoon 1. Let's move on and talk about some of the special weapons here in Splatoon 3. The one that we see shown off the most in the gameplay here is actually the Ink Ooza, which was an iconic special weapon from Splatoon 1 that did not come back in Splatoon 2. Actually, matter of fact, I'm pretty sure there was a sunken scroll in Splatoon 2 that said that Ink Ooza was like banned for being illegal in Turf Zone because it was like too OP or something like that. So I guess Team Chaos is just like, whatever, we're using illegal weapons now. But anyways, the Ink Ooza actually acts a little bit differently than how it used to. Rather than shooting like a vertical tower of like a tornado of ink, it actually shoots a large tri-shot of ink bullets. Unfortunately, we never see how many times you can shoot it here in the trailer, but it's assumed you could probably shoot it a couple of times. It's not just a one fire, one and done thing, but who knows? Maybe that was the way they balanced it here rather than leaving it busted like it was in Splatoon 1. Oh, quick thing to mention about the ink goo is we actually see a person use it here with the splatter shot, but we also see another person here, very off in the distance, using it but then switching back to the ink bow. So for now, it's cool to see that that special is going to be tied to that new weapon, but likely this is all to change once we get closer to the finalized version of the game. One of the new special weapons is a new version of the Tentamissiles, kind of. You can see a bunch of reticles being aimed all over the stage, kind of like homing in on specific characters and whatnot. It kind of looks like it has a reticle similar to what like the Ink Ray or the Killer Whale did, so you can like X-rays and goes through objects and stuff, although the weapon itself might not do so, but you can kind of like see where they're being aimed and thrown all about. And then there's this crab. Here's the thing, Nintendo on Twitter anyways confirmed that this is actually a special weapon, while at first glance it kind of more looks like just like a sub weapon. Especially for how small it is. You know, it can kind of look like similar to how the Autobomb worked in like the previous games, but Nintendo at least said it's a special weapon, so yeah, guess what it is. Since we don't see it really in action in any way, what I think it might do is it might work like a walking little turret. It's got, you know, its little blasters on each of its arms and one of its mouths, so it can shoot like 3 bullets at a time. Maybe you can like post it up somewhere so it's like a little tiny mini turret that's available for a temporary amount of time, or can be splatted by an enemy team if they throw enough ink on it. What's really odd though is beyond all the weapons and special weapons we've saw, there was not a single sub-weapon shown throughout the entire trailer. So it makes me wonder, like, are they reworking how subs work? Is there something different they're going to be doing? Is there more customization to weapons going forward? There's of course a lot of questions going on there, but beyond in general, there's just a lot of questions I have overall for Splatoon 3. This is such an early look at the game, and I'm sure we're bound to get tons and tons of more information as the year progresses, as we get closer to the release of this game. But were there any secrets or hidden details that you noticed in the new Splatoon 3 trailer? Definitely let me know that in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big awesome like, and if you haven't already, definitely subscribe for tons more on Splatoon. We are gonna do tons of content on Splatoon 3, and I couldn't be more excited for this game. As a reminder, we do stream every weekend at 10 a.m. Eastern right here on YouTube Live. That's both Saturdays and Sundays. When Splatoon 3 comes out, you know we're gonna be streaming this game a ton. Be sure to follow me over on my socials, as well as join a community Discord. Link to all that is in the description below. It's a great place to find friends to play Splatoon with. I mean, I've already seen a bunch of people playing Splatoon 2 in hype for 3, and of course, once 3 comes out, we'll be making tons of private lobbies, squatting up in Turf War. It's going to be so much fun, and I cannot wait for this game. So thanks again, guys, so much for watching. Look forward to more Splatoon content coming soon, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya!
Yeah.